so many combinations of notes. There's only so many expressions of ideas. There's only so many stories you can tell. But only you, as an individual, can tell your specific story, your specific way. And so
So this helps you counteract this an inferiority complex or a fear of being exposed as like uneducated or not untalented.
Because everyone is faking it. When you think about it, the person that you're pitching to is also faking it. They're trying to maintain their job. They don't want to get fired. And they want to please the person that they report to, who wants to please the person that they report to, who wants to be the man or whatever. So it's like everyone is I'm not saying that technical creative writing education is a bad thing. I think that was great. I wish I had it, honestly, right? Especially given what I'm doing now. But when you kind of just are like, listen, this doesn't really matter. And also, if I'm not enjoying every step of the process up to the point of rejection, which the good news is I am. I enjoy writing. I enjoy the process of creating a role and exploring things, putting words into characters' mouths and that kind of thing. And every single time I do it, I learn a whole lot. So I know that next time I do it, it's going to be better. And I'm probably going to increase, the chances will be increased the next time that this will come to light. But you know what? If it doesn't, it's just a lesson. It's just an experience. And it's what was supposed to happen. Even if that's not true, even if everything doesn't happen for a reason, living like everything happens for a reason is a healthy perspective.
I think for me, and this is something that I actually started saying out loud as we were entering into certain processes. I'm thinking of two examples. One is we were doing a pitch, and we had teamed up with somebody who, if the pitch went as a television show, we would, they would be running they'd be the head writer and showrunner. And we were pitching that, and then the other one is writing the pilot that we collaborated with, a friend and mentor.
Yeah.
So with the first one, I remember we were going into it doesn't matter which network, but bona fide meeting, big deal. By the way, our livelihood is not connected to our pitches working for things being bought from us. We have this luxury of not having this, oh gosh, I gotta put food on the table. We gotta make this work.
There's not a desperation.
There's not a desperation. But we want it so bad that it feels the same at times. And I do think that, as you were getting at, it kind of short circuit your ability to pitch and sell something. I think when it's like you're gripping so tightly that you're shaking, or sometimes literally. I remember we had done it. We had gone around town pitching this thing, and this was the last person we were pitching to. And remember, we were sitting in the waiting room with the writer who we paired ourselves with. And before we went back there, you remember I said to him, I was like, well, you know what? If this is our last meeting, if this doesn't go, we may never see you again. It's like we were introduced to him for this project. We really hit it off. I think, I could see us being really good friends and collaborators and having an entire creative future together. And that's one of the reasons we picked the person. Or this could be the last time that we ever see each other. And there was this kind of uncomfortable laughter, because we all knew it was true, right? It's just not the type of thing that you typically say unless you're late and you're a little nervous that you're trying to figure out something to talk about. And there's nothing like a good dose of the truth to really shake you out of being nervous. And that's exactly what happened. That was over a year ago, and even without the COVID of it all, we still would have never seen him again. I mean, we might. Who knows if we'll ever cross paths? But it's just we could be working together for years, or we could never see each other. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
ever anything more than this. Like, we go into this pitch, we practiced it, we kind of know it backwards and forwards. Let's have fun with it. If all that happens with this project and it never goes past a pitch, well, I want to have fond memories of this pitch. Like, I want to take the pressure off and just convey that we believe in it and leave the results to whatever power you want to leave the results to. So that's the thing that I was trying to do, is just embrace the process, because the results are out of our control.
And all we can do is we can come up with an idea, we can write a story, and we can have a compelling pitch. But it is so tenuous, because the reason that someone might say no could very easily be what they had for lunch. It could be a conversation that they had with their spouse right before the meeting.
And that can be frustrating, or it can be fuel to let go of the things that you just have an illusion
I
of
think
control.
when you actually think about it, and when you understand how tenuous it is, for me, it is helpful to be like, you know what, why would I place my value, my happiness, in the hands of someone who just had a bad lunch? You know what I'm saying? Like, what? And so, again, it is frustrating when you take but I feel like, for me, it's, step one is finding joy in the process, what you just said. Like, and that is everything from the conceptualization and the writing to going out and talking about it, meeting people, doing the pitches, like having fun while we're doing it. And then the second thing is and this is not easy. I want to be very clear, this isn't easy for anybody. It's definitely not easy for me, somebody who built an identity on, impressing people. To take all the power, to give the results, my expectations. There's no power in that. I'm just removing all my expectations altogether, trying to detach myself from the outcome. If I can enjoy the process and detach myself from the outcome. And again, there's things that make that easier for us, given the fact that it doesn't have to work. Like, we can go back, we can keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna be okay in the short term financially. We're not depending on this working in order to eat.
Yeah.
So those are and again, if that's your situation, again, I know I'm biting a lot of Elizabeth Gilbert's thoughts here, but I mean, she kind of makes the point that because the process, the arts are so tenuous, and because you're putting your livelihood into the whims of another person who holds the purse strings, she recommends don't quit your day job. I know that sounds harsh, but she's like, she didn't stop working her day job until after she published Eat, Pray, Love, and it started seeming like it was working. Like she had all these different jobs, and she was like, give yourself that creative time, but the moment that you begin to attach yourself and attach your self-worth and attach your own livelihood to it, it becomes a different thing. Now we had the privilege of, okay, well, the baseline creativity stuff is working, so we have this privilege of being able to kind of do that, to put these things out to the world and not have them have to work. But
yeah, and with that second example of co-writing a pilot with somebody with a lot more experience that can give, just being on Zoom calls and having that time, it's just like, this is just, the thing that I would remind myself and just, I would say out loud at times to all of us on the Zoom call is I was like, like you said, this may never be anything, but it's fun to think about what it could be. And this is fun right now. Like, this experience is fun. Like, taking that moment to pause and recognize, oh, we just got notes, but the way he gives notes is he records it all, audio stream of consciousness, and then he just emails it to you. So, like, you've got this, like, verbal processing of what we've conceptualized and what you've written, there's like this detailed analysis of it that like people would save up for years to get that type of feedback on something they've written from someone of, you know, this level of experience, and just saying, okay, oh, the notes might eviscerate, and they didn't. But even if they did, it's like, wow, what a cool process. It's like signing up for your driving course, and then you get to the parking lot, and Mr. Miyagi gets in the car with you with a glass of wine.
Right.
It's like, oh God, this is freaking cool. I need to go home and watch Karate Kid now, and I think I would really appreciate this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's tough to do that. It's tough to enjoy the process because I think there's this romantic notion of the starving artist and the desperate artist and the tortured artist. You know, literally, you know, somebody like Van Gogh cutting off his own ear. You know, like you have there's this cultural entity which is you've got to drag yourself through a torturous experience in order to come out on the other side in success. And it's like, well, first of all, the success on the other side may be just as disorienting as the failure in the struggle. You are who you are, and your baseline happiness is kind of pre-tuned. You know what I'm saying? So it's very difficult for me because I always have thought that, yeah, this is supposed to be this is supposed to be a grind, and you're really supposed to just like throw yourself in this and be able to look back and be like, oh man, we worked so hard on that, and then it became a thing. But it's just like, I don't know if it's going to become a thing. Can I just learn to enjoy the steps? I mean, who knows? If one of these things becomes a reality, it'll be fun, it'll be awesome, but it'll also complicate our lives in a certain way, right? Like, okay, we do 100 different things already. Let's throw 101 in there, and this one will be making a television show, making a movie. I'm not saying we won't find a way to make it happen, but you know what? It'll be stressful. It'll be a complicating factor in things.
Yeah.
So it's not always like the success or something happening is going to be some incredible thing that is going to change your life. You know. Yeah. So I think ultimately, for me, it's just a constant battle to detach myself from the outcome, and also to when the outcome is failure, which is most often, especially with the stuff that we're talking. It's in fact almost exclusively failure and rejection with the ideas that we talked about before. Seeing that there's probably ultimately more long-term value in those rejections and failures than there would be in one of them working out.
And I think my chief struggle is something that will make more sense in light of our Enneagram conversations over the next couple of weeks, because my struggle is when things are so speculative and they're not actually like nuts and bolts of doing and like perfecting, like executing and perfecting, like the next parts of the creative process. Like if a project never gets off the ground and that keeps happening and happening, I get very dejected. I feel like I'm sitting on my hands, you know, because I'm not the writer, and you know, I'm not as much of the idea. From nothing comes an idea. It's more of like, yes, I get on board with those things, and then let's go for it.
Right.
You know, so there's a different type of struggle for me in this kind of like to stay engaged when it's, you know, our hands have been tied with COVID, but also so much is speculative. And now we've actually got people whose full-time job is to, as a development person, I don't think I could ever be a development person, because now that we're working closely with Mallory and Taylor, who are like working for us full-time to take our ideas, develop other ideas, bring projects in, and like get traditional things off the ground. It's like, it's very hard for me to remain engaged, because it's just so speculative. I could just be like, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to be able to engage what I feel like my gift gifts and my passions are, because we're just we're just meandering around the starting line, and then no one may ever fire the gun to run. You know, it's like, call me when it's time to run. You know, and so it's been that's what's been difficult for me, and it's not even so. Then I start to anticipate the rejection and just disengage. I think to protect myself from the dejection of never getting to the part that's where I feel like I thrive and I can find my flow. And maybe that'll come up more, or you can just kind of take what I just said and map it onto being an Enneagram 1 next week. So,
and I think that's one of the reasons that we end up, we got something planned. We have a creative exercise that we have planned for the fall that is,
we have complete control over it, and
Yeah.
it's going to happen. We're going to make it.
yeah, and I think for me that was a reaction to what you're talking about. Yeah, sure, I may be engaged in like the writing process, but when you for years you've been able to put things out there, whether it was a music video or a sketch, with something that's coming from a different place creatively. Then obviously Good Mythical Morning is its own entity, but Good Mythical Morning has become, as we've established, it's become an environment that we place ourselves into, and we're just kind of operating off the cuff and as ourselves and kind of being ourselves, and our friendship is on display and that kind of thing. It's a different kind of entertainment than something that's, because the conceptual stages are happening with the writing team, producers, on purpose. It's like we're not trying to like throw ourselves back into GMM creatively. We're throwing ourselves into other places creatively, but then after a while you're like, well, you gotta get something. We used to at least have like a sketch or a music video or something like that would get out there, and it's a different process of throwing that out into the world and having people react to it. So I think that our reaction to feeling a little bit restricted in that way is to say, well, let's put something out there, and so that
I don't want to build it up too much, because it's not going to be anything that they can predict.
Yeah,
So if they,
I agree with that.
So if you think anything that you could predict and then you would get excited about, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not that type of thing.
Right.
But we're excited about it, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to make a recommendation. You had your creative book, which I'm actually listening to it. And I'm not that far into it, but I really appreciated early on she talks about fear being a barrier to creativity. I was going in a record shop, and I knew this existed, and I'd forgotten, and then I remembered, so I picked it up. Questlove wrote a creative book called Creative Quest, a creativity book, is what I meant to say. I'm not all the way through this thing. I skipped to the last chapter so that it could inform. Success and Failure is one of the last chapters. So, I'm a big fan of Questlove. Honored to have met him in the halls. Actually, we met him. We didn't meet him on the halls of the Tonight Show. We met him we just met him during the show.
I mean, Questlove played drums for us to rap.
Isn't that crazy?
Our 8th grade.
Questlove is awesome.
8th grade talent show, Halloween fall festival thing.
So he has,
Crazy.
Creative Quest, fun book. It talks about, it's his relationship with creativity, and the thing that got me was his opening line. Decades into my career, with many albums and songs under my belt, I still don't know if I am truly creative. Most days, I spend more time absorbing the creative work around me than actually creating myself. At times, I feel like I'm a way better student than I am a teacher or a maker. And that really resonated with me. I think a lot of, what I said just a few seconds ago about, that's a testimony to our teamwork that we will talk about with the Enneagram. That was like, okay, a guy who is undeniably creative has off if that resonates with you.
Tell us about your experience with creativity, failure,